Okay, everyone. Hello. I'm teaching you how to enter competition and how to submit. Okay. This is one I've already been doing. I just redid it again. So I'm going to tell you how I did it. Okay. So go to you. Whenever you start a competition, your work will appear over here. Okay. Before you start, always make sure for two things. You should always make your work public and add these hashtags like analytics, whatever model method are you using, what model machine learning algorithm are you using, like linear regression. Since I'm using that, I put regression. But unless the data is confidential, you should keep it private. But in Kaggle's case, all data is public, so you can do that. And the more people that copy your work and fork it, you will actually get more up. You will actually get a higher score if more people use your work. So you should make it public. This is the most important code because this is where all of the files that are here will be downloaded. And always check the submission file first for anything else. And here by copying this link, giving it a random file name. So I have to first run pandas. Okay. So basically the submission wants the ID next to the sale price. So that's what you have to submit your final file as after getting the predictions. Submit all predictions next to the ID. And over here problems can happen where sometimes the total data calculated does not match the total IDs. That's where you will have to use your data science skills the most. Manipulate the data accordingly. Okay, I run the library main ones. I run the CSV file, check the head, and first I have to check the null values. And here I have null values in this and other columns as well, which are not being shown here because there are a lot of columns. So, but I individually check the data set in Excel because I didn't have the time to do it here. So, but otherwise, what you can do is if you have the missing number in library downloaded, you can use it directly and use a heat map. It's always the best one. So it's showing you all the missing columns with library, missing values in each column using this library. Okay, that's what the best. This is the best library to check your missing columns, and it's showing you the relationship amongst each column, meaning which data you can replace each column from which columns. And here I'm replacing it with mode median because I just want to do it fast and teach you guys how to do it. And I'm dropping a few columns. Normally, you should never drop these columns, okay? But here I'm also doing it fast, okay? That's why I'm doing it. Otherwise, you should replace all of the columns or use um, encoding to convert the categorical columns into numerical columns. Here, so I'm just dropping the categorical columns just to get it done faster. Here I'm importing, here I'm choosing sales price as my prediction target because that's what the competition wants. And here I'm choosing these features, these selected columns, value it against it because I think they're the strongest, they're the best columns measure against sale price. Everyone has their own business knowledge. If you have a better idea, then we use it. Okay. Here I'm importing random forest regressor. Let me just change it to because the competition is asking you to use regression. You can use any kind of regression you want. So random forest, we tried gradient boost. Let's see which other regression we can use here. Let's go with logistic regression. Sometimes even the score won't change by changing your method of machine learning, but it can change if you manipulate the data. Like instead of dropping these columns, if I could convert them into numerical columns from categorical using encoding, my score might actually go up. Here I'm making a prediction using logistic regression. Okay. Once my predictions are loaded, I then check the mean absolute error with my prediction and the evaluation data set data, which is basically the testing data. Renamed it as eval bar instead of auto score. It's very less. That means my algorithm isn't good. So let's change it to linear regression. I changed linear. I didn't change here. Now it's done. Okay. So my auto score will go up. So we made predictions with the test data. After I loaded the test data after the predictions, normally you should combine them here. Another thing I forgot to mention. Over here, whenever starting your data analysis, always combine the test and train because you need the full data in order to get the maximum accuracy. But I just directly went with the training data and then further divided it into ty and eval y, which you should not do. You should use the full data. Okay, now that I checked all the, now I'm revisiting the submission file just to see how they want my predictions next to each ID. So then I load selected columns I use for train in my test data and did the features which I can revisit here again. Another problem of using so much code. Okay, features. Here I selected these columns, right? My main features, and I also selected the same under test because my test and train have to be the same in order for the predictions to be loaded onto Kaggle. Okay, and I predicted the same using the same model, my test data set, and then I uploaded my my ID from my test data and uploaded the predictions from my test data right here. We named it as sale price and ID because that's how the submission wants it. Otherwise, it won't accept it if you use another name. And then I used output to dot underscore to CSV. It's basically Kaggle's inbuilt library to submit. And then I named my file as submission CV and index false. You can also mark it true, like index meaning the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Always make sure it's public so everyone can upload it and use it and fork your work. That way you get more points. Then save it. If it's taking time to run, I'll just directly show you how to do it. My previous saved file. And once it's saved, you have to then submit it to competition. Okay? This, if there's any error, the sub competition will tell you. Okay? This is my score, and it's calculating based on the root mean squared error because that's the calculation metric being used in the competition. I should have ideally also used that to see what my score was coming, and then compared it to other people who've done the same. And it's always written in the discussion part, the rules part as well. Okay? This is how you use Kaggle. I hope this comes in handy for everyone. And